So now in order to start scripting in LoadRunner, we need to know two things. One, recording options, and two, start recording window. These are the two things that you should know before you get in and start working on the scripting. These are basic settings that you should know. In QTP, we said that recording options do not change. These are default options. No, here it is different. Here recording option is very, very important. Right before, so we follow the step one. First go to recording options, set the recording options. Then we go to second one, start recording window, and then provide all the information that is required for the application and start recording the application. So we're going to see recording options first, and then we will see start recording window. Now in our load testing session, we are going to use another application that is go to start all programs, ALM platform, Mercury tools. You see this? This is the, click on that. This is the application that we are going to use. Give it a second, it will launch up. This is the application. So in order to log into the application, you got to register. Click on the register. Enter the username, password, leave all these blank, not necessary. Enter the username, password, and confirm password, and submit. So you will get a user ID that got generated. So now I'm going to log in. I'm going to say, I'm going to use my login ID. I usually keep the password as Mercury itself, so it's easier for us to remember rather than having 10 different passwords. So the tool is exactly same what we saw in the flight reservation. This is the same in the web format. That's all the differences. Okay. So now in order to start recording that particular application, first thing that we need to do is to go to the recording options. So how do you go to recording options? Go to tools, recording options. This is the way, or you can press Control F7 to launch the recording option window. Now this is the recording option window, right? Clean this up. This is the recording option window. Now recording option window has three main lists here, and it has sub options available. The first one is called the general option, then you have the network, and then you have the HTTP properties. In this, certain things are important, certain things can be ignored. Okay, so we'll see each and every option. So the first thing that we are going to see in is general script. Now script as such has its own language. As I told you, LoadRunner has its own language, and we use C programming language. So if you want to change the language, you don't have the option to change it. It's just available here for you to view the language that we use here. So this, we don't have an option, it's just available here. But if you see here, there are multiple options available below. The first one says close all AUT process when recording stops. What is the application under test process? Processes. What do you mean by processes? Anyone knows what do you mean by processes? Anyone? Application process. What do you mean by application process? Okay. What does this mean is that when you are working with an application, right? Say example, this flight reservation, flight tours. right? I'm able to log in, I'm able to sign out, I'm able to work with the application. But how does it run actually? Since this happens, this feature of close all AET process when the recording stops is good only when your application is local. Okay, that is, if see this application that is there is running in my local VMware, so it is useful. So I go to Task Manager, go to Processes. Can you see here Processes? And what is the process that it used to run? It is the ALM Quality Center, right? Call it the ALM tool. So let's see whether the ALM is coming in as this. No, here. QC tray icon. Quality Center tray icon. Now if I stop this process, it's going to kill this particular application. Let's see, Apache is there. No, Apache is not there. No. So it will automatically kill this server that is running here. You see here, this is the ALM server. If ALM server stops, this application will stop. So what it's saying is that it will go and kill this particular process. But if most of the time, that is 95–96% of the time, you will be accessing an application from your local machine, which is hosted in the server. So what process are you going to kill that? So this option that we have here, the recording option that we have here, is of no use. You're not going to use this at all. Leave it unchecked. Do not check this. Anyway, it's not going to work. Anyway, it's not going to work. So just leave it as it is. The second option is generate fixed think time after end transaction. What does this mean? What does this mean? Let's see what does that mean. In order for me to explain that, I need to explain two things. One, think time, and two, transactions. So first we'll see what is think time. Think time is the wait time between user action. Think time is the wait time between Can anyone explain this? What do you mean by wait time between user action? Any idea? What do you mean by this? Yeah?
Is it like how we ask the QTP to wait until the answer?
No. I'm saying this is the wait time between user action. What do you mean by wait time between user action? Yeah?
So when you send some information and the time taken by the server to process and till the time taken to get back the reply.
No. Wait time between user action. Did I say wait time between server response?
No.
No. So then that's not the one. Yeah.
Maybe it's between the time I suppose I have to give my email and password. Between those two, how much time I'm taking, something like that.
Close to it. Let's see. See, close to it, very close to it. Let me explain that. Wait time between actions, right? So let me go to my website. Okay. Say example. I am launching the application. So first I launch this application. So I'm in my home page. Now, from the home page, I'm going into my, say, software testing introduction. Then from software testing introduction, I go to software requirement gathering. Now, the time between me going and selecting, right, it takes some seconds, right? That from that point to say from the point I clicked on introduction, then I'm moving my mouse. I'm going to go to testing fundamentals, requirement gathering. You see, it took at least 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 seconds, right? So in practical scenario, you are not going to click software testing and the requirement gathering together. No. If your flow is to go to testing, fundamentals, testing introduction, then you want to go to testing, fundamental requirements, you cannot, in practical scenario, you are not going to click both together. First you will go click this, then when you go to testing, fundamental requirement gathering, it takes some time, right? The 2-3 seconds between one action and the second action. The first action was to select on the software testing introduction. The second action was to click on the requirement gathering. The time difference between these two is called the wait time between user action. Guys, you are able to understand this? Are you able to understand this? You are able to understand this?
Yes.
Yeah. So that wait time is in QTP, we used to put that wait time manually by putting in either by synchronizing the script or by putting a wait there. Here in LoadRunner, it is called think time. That wait time is called think time here, and there is a function that we use. In QTP we said wait, right? Here we use the function LR underscore think underscore time and put the seconds here. The same function we used wait, open and close and put the seconds here in QTP. Here we are going to use think time. So this LR underscore think time is similar to the wait time. So it will come here and wait for that particular number of seconds that you have provided in the script. So that is what you call think time. Think time is the wait time between user actions. Guys, you are able to understand any questions? Any questions? Fine. Now what is transaction? Now what is the goal of, can anyone tell me what is the real goal of running performance testing? What is the what do you wanted to see? What do you wanted to get? Why are you running performance testing? Yeah?
Maybe the efficiency of the output.
Efficiency of the output.
Efficiency of the test. Sorry.
What do you mean by efficiency of the test?
No, like if there is a particular transaction, how fast we are able to come
How
through.
fast we are able to complete that action, correct? That particular transaction.
Yeah.
So how do you know how fast how was it fast or slow? How do you know that?
Probably LoadRunner is the one that is.
No, don't talk about the tool. No, don't talk about the tool. I'm just asking a generic question. How do you know that it ran fast or it ran slow?
We have to record the time between which we started and ended, right?
Yes, we have to record the time. Record the time between
Start point and end point.
Start point and end point. Now the difference between the start and the end time is called the response time. You getting me?
Okay.
Now this is what we wanted to see, how fast my application is responding at a certain reload. Now how do you see that? How do you get that from the tool? The tool automatically cannot capture the time. It does not know where it should capture the time. So for that we have a function called LR underscore start underscore transaction. Now and LR underscore end underscore transaction. These two function calls, right? The moment the script hits this function, it will start the clock. It will execute all the code that is there inside this, and the moment it hits the end, it will stop the clock. So the difference between the start and the stop is your response time. Okay, so unless and until you put this, LoadRunner itself does not know where it has to capture the response time. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to introduce this during your recording. So this is also a key aspect. Now what happens here is that when you are recording your script, for every action you perform, that is every click of a button, click of a link, you put before you do that, you put a start, and then you put after you do that activity and the page is loaded, put an end. So what happens is, why am I telling you to do it during recording is because after you record, you cannot identify from the script which is that portion of the transaction. It is very difficult. So that is why it is always recommended to do it during your recording itself. Okay. Now every start and every start should be followed with an end transaction. Otherwise the clock will not stop. So be careful, when you put a start, you have to put an end to it. Otherwise this particular clock will not stop. And when you start, you give a unique name here. And when you end, put that unique name again here. So it knows that what will happen is when you start the transaction, it will create a log with the unique name. And then when it hits the end with the same unique name, it knows that for this unique name, I started the clock here, I ended the clock here, and this is the difference. It will give you the difference as the difference in seconds. So that is how the LoadRunner knows that this particular transaction. So the unique name would be usually the functionality name that we are, or the screen name that we are using. That's how we give the unique names. Okay. Guys, you are able to understand transactions? Are you able to understand transactions? Fine. Yeah.
So you said the unique name will come after the LR underscore start underscore transaction.
When we are writing the script, you will have a better understanding. It's just a rough idea that I give. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this will come after LR underscore start underscore transaction, open bracket, unique name, close bracket.
Okay.
It will be in quotes. This will be in quotes.
Okay.
Okay. But you need not write this. It will automatically create for you. You just have to click a button, and when you're recording, there is a button available. Click on that button. It will pop up a window like this with a text box. Put the unique name, click OK. It will automatically put this whole thing for you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay. So now what is this option? What is this option? Generate fixed think time after end transaction. See, now in your practical scenario, let me clean this up. In your practical scenario, for every start, LR start underscore transaction, LR end transaction. This will be one action of yours. Action in the sense, I'm not talking about the LoadRunner action. I'm talking about user action. One user action. Let me write it as user action. That would be better. So we have to put a think time between user actions, right? So the next user action will start here. LR start transaction, LR end transaction. So between these two user actions, this is a user action 2. Now this is user action 1. So between these two actions, I have to put a think time. Now instead of going and typing it manually, I can do that in the setting itself. It's advisable to do it in the setting itself. Fixed think time after end transaction. So after every end transaction, it will automatically create a LR underscore think underscore time, and it will put a seconds here. What is the seconds where the seconds number coming from? That's the number you provide here. Just you can provide whatever number you want here. Okay. Generate recorded event logs. Don't need to do that. No, it's unwanted. You are increasing the file size of your script and you are not going to use it at all. So leave that unchecked. The third option is generate think time greater than threshold. What does this mean? Now, when you are recording the script, okay, when you are recording the script, you send a request from the, say when you are recording, you click on a button and the page spins and slowly comes back. Now, the time it took for the response to come back, load generator will generate a think time for that. Why? I don't know why, but why do you need it? No, we don't need it, because when you hit the start transaction, right, and then you click on the action, what you have to perform, and when the action is loaded, page is loaded, you hit the end turn. Now, if you have a think time inside this, time of 5 seconds, when the clock comes here, the clock starts. Now you put a wait time in this of 5 seconds. So wait, the clock is still running. When it hits here, the clock stops. So where the response would have been 3 seconds, since we had a think time inside the record of 5 seconds, the response time that it's going to show is 8 seconds. So this is not the right response time. So you should not have any think time inside your start and end transaction. That's wrong. Should not have, because that wait time will also get added to the clock response time. That's not good, because then you cannot explain this. You can remove this in the analysis, but every time you have to do that. So it's preferably not to put this here. So how do you avoid that coming up automatically generated? So you can go and delete it in the script, but it's an additional activity, right? So what I will do, I will go to my record and runtime settings, recording options, generate think time greater than the threshold. I will put it like, what is happening here? Yeah. Oh, I have to enable this, and then I will put the option as, say, 10 seconds. So it will generate a think time if in case my response is waiting for more than 10 seconds. I know that my response comes back pretty fast. So I don't need, I'll put a higher value here. Even you can put 60 seconds. Okay, you can put 60 seconds. So if my load runner is waiting for the response for more than 60 seconds, it will put a think time inside. And then finally I have to go and delete it. I don't want it. That's why I enable this value. The next option is maximum number of lines in action file, 60,000. I will not enable this. If in case you have a script which has a larger flow and you enable that option, if the number of lines of the script exceeded that 60,000, it will stop. Then you have to do the whole thing again by disabling this option. Let's not enable this option at all. We don't need this. Track processes created on COM local servers. A default option, I'm not going to touch anything, just leave it as it is. That is, if you use a component object model protocol, this will work. Otherwise, it doesn't work, but it's not a harmful feature. Leave it as it is. It's a default feature, leave it as it is. Guys, you are able to understand when I'm talking about scripting? Yep.
So do you always keep the generate think time greater than threshold tab? I mean, enabled all time?
Yeah, if you don't enable that, it will, whenever you are recording, it will put a think time inside your
between the transaction.
Between the transaction, and then we know that we should not have the think time. So now now imagine you have a 50 transaction flow. Are you going to go and delete every transaction? You go and delete each and every think time there? It's a waste of time, right?
Yes.
We know it should not be there. Then why you want to disable that option? Enable that option and give a higher value so that it doesn't get generated inside your transaction only.
Okay, so this will not even generate between the transaction, right? Between the start and end transaction.
Yes, it will not generate.
Okay. But it will generate, the think time will generate after the end transaction.
That is this option. No?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
is this option. And
Okay.
preferably for that, preferably give 5 seconds.
Okay.
Because if you want to increase, you want to decrease, you can later do that in the settings. You don't need to go and change it manually here.
Okay.
Give it 5 seconds so that you can forget about the think time option itself. It will automatically do that for you.
Okay. So this is like a setting for one-time setting, right?
Yes, this is a one-time setting.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the same thing, Rajesh. The think time thing only, even I had a doubt. So only in this particular thing, we have to have only 3 options check marked default.
Yes.
Okay. And
The rest all you don't need.
okay. So the generate think time, all that should be always 5, and the other one, the threshold should be 60. And then the last one.
Don't hold on to the number. If you want the threshold, if your application is there is one application of mine which takes 300 seconds to respond.
So how will we know all this, Rajesh?
Unless, see, you cannot start scripting directly, right? You should know what is the flow of your application.
Okay.
So you will start first, you will do the entire flow manually to get the confidence of the flow.
Oh, okay.
At that time, you will know how much time it's taking for your application to respond. So based on that, you change the setting.
So application to respond in the sense, like, for me to go give the login name, password, and then login, that is the time I put here as 60 seconds, or?
No. When you are going to the application, here, I'm giving here. So now imagine I'm recording this option.
Okay.
I'm entering my username and I'm entering my password.
Okay.
And now I'll start my transaction, click on submit, and wait for the screen to appear. Now it has taken a second for the screen to appear. Now it appeared. Now I'll hit the end. Imagine it takes another 3 more seconds for this page to appear.
Okay.
That 3 seconds will get recorded as a think time inside your start and end transaction.
So that will become like 6 seconds there.
Yes. We don't want that, right? So we'll remove that. We have to go manually remove that in the think time. That inside the start and end transaction. You have to manually remove the think time.
Okay. Okay.
So in order to avoid that manual step, we go and change this here. Now when you're looking at the flow, say I'm going to do this. It's coming fast. So 60 seconds is more than enough. Imagine I select this and then click on continue and it spins for another 2 minutes and then I get the response back. That one, so you increase this to 2 minutes. Or usually what we do, we have a template, we usually put it as 900 seconds. That's all.
Okay.
For any application, it's a common template we keep and put it as 900 seconds. So it will never get generated. 15 minutes, if your application is not responding in 15 minutes, why do you want to do a performance testing itself?
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll put it as like this.
Okay. So only 3 options are always checkmark default in this. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yep, what's the question?
So if the load increases, what will happen, Rajesh? So the response time will be more, right? It will take more time.
No, this is only for your recording, not for your replay.
Okay.
Nothing to do with your, when you're running the test, there's nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Only when you're recording the script, in order to avoid all these unwanted manual interventions that we have to do in the script, we are just changing the settings here. Nothing to do with running the test.
Okay.
You getting me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all about the option scripting. The next option that we are going to talk is protocol. Protocol, it just shows you what protocol you selected. Imagine you have selected multiple protocols, it will list here. Since we have only one protocol, say imagine you have selected 2 protocols and then later you find out that the script does not use that protocol itself. You can just uncheck that. It will not use that protocol only. Okay, that's all with the protocol, nothing else on the protocol.
So here it will be displayed, right? Both protocols? Okay.
Yes, let's see. Let me show you that. I'm going to multiple protocol. I'm going to select, say, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Now, close. Here, you see here?
Oh, okay. Okay. So we can uncheck whichever we don't want.
Let me find out that it's not a web service. It's only using HTML. Just uncheck this and say okay.
So it's better to add to and then we can uncheck,
No. But first you find out what are the protocols that have been used in the system. They will give you the information. Then you record with, if they are saying it's a web-based application and they are saying they are using web services, just go with web itself, HTTP, HTML, it will record all the information.
So usually when they give us like the flow of the app, we'll have time to work on it, right? First?
Yeah. You have to first go.
They will give us time.
Yeah. They will. You have to go understand how the navigation flow is, and then you have to go and start scripting. You will get your time.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. So now let's go to the next option. Recording. Very, very important option. Very, very important. Why? In recording, there are two modes in recording. An important interview question. What are the two modes of recording? What are the two types of recording options available? We have two types of recording options. One is the HTML mode and the other one is the URL mode. Now, HTML mode and URL mode are two different types of recording options. What do you mean by this? So, in order to understand this, we have to know a little about HTTP and need to know a little bit about HTML. So, before we learn about these two modes. Now, in HTML, anyone knows what is the full form of HTML? What is the full form of HTML? Yeah.
I think it's hypertext markup language.
Yes, hypertext markup language. And in the HTML, you have two method calls, get and post. These are the two method calls. What do you mean by get? When a request is sent with the get method, these are two methods. When the request from the HTML is sent with a get method, that means it is saying that get the information from the server. That's all. Nothing, server need not process anything. Just give me that information. These are pages like, say, your home page, your image files, CSS files, JPEG or JS files, all these files which is required in order for the application to render the home page or render a certain page. That's all. No calculation, nothing. That's all for the get. So just give me that info. It will send the request to the server saying that give me this information or give me this file. That's all in get. While in post, it will do some process. It's saying that, say example, you wanted to log into the application with your username and password, you will use the post method. So you are posting information to the server for processing. So the server will process that information. If it has to check with the database, it will do all that validation and get you the response back. So if you are posting some information to the server, you use the post method. If you are getting some information from the server, you use the get method. Right? Now, here in our HTTP HTML mode, the main thing that we are going to look in is only for the post method. Here we do get and post. So what will happen is, when you are recording the script, the main requests are getting recorded here. Only the main request that gets recorded here. Here, everything gets recorded. So what happens if you are using HTTP HTML mode, your script will be, say, if it is 50 lines, here it will be 500 lines. Because all the requests will get captured. Why do you want the JPEG and JPEG image files for performance testing? We don't require all those files. But here it will capture everything. Here it will only capture what is really required for you to work with the application. This is the preferred method. Then why do you have this? Sometimes what happens is when you are trying to capture some dynamic value, right? It would have not come in the post method. It would have come in some other method, which this would have ignored because it thought it is not an important request. So you will not be able to capture that value only. In that case, you can get this done in the URL mode, get that specific request, take that request and put it into the HTML mode. But we still work with HTML mode only. We use the URL mode, get that request and put it into the HTML mode. It will work. But we don't use the URL mode because the script will be 500 lines of code. It's very tedious to work with huge number of script rather than it's easier to work with smaller number. So these are the two recording options. Now in this, selecting these two, it depends upon which option you selected, it will capture the request. We will see that. We are going to see that what is the difference. Now in HTML mode, if you go to advanced, you have two other options. Generate your script with web submit form, generate your script with web submit data. So what we will do, first we will record a small script and then I will show you what is the difference. Okay. So let's record a small script. So I'm going to select first HTTP HTML mode. I'm going to go and click on start recording. Don't worry, I will explain this window today only. I will explain this window. Nothing to worry on this. I'm just showing you. So I'm going to click OK. I'll explain this window also. Nothing to worry about it. Don't worry. I'm just showing you the recording. All I'm doing is just launching this application. Okay. Why it's down? Oh. Sorry. It went into a different application. Sorry. Let me load the Mercury tools. Okay. I should have used this URL rather than the other one. Again, start recording. Use this. Run. Okay. Okay. I just recorded the launch page. So I'm going to stop it. Now you see here, just one request got generated. Just one request. I have used HTML based recording and I have used web submit form. You see here web submit form. What does web submit form do? It will give you the URL of this particular request. You see here you got the URL. But if you don't use web submit form, yes. Now if you don't use that, say example I use web submit form. Okay, I'm not going to re-record it. I'll regenerate the whole script again. You go to tools, regenerate script. Okay. Did I not change it? Okay, I should go to the next screen. That's when it will wait. Hold on. Let's do that. Let's do a small recording of this. Now, since I have changed the setting to web submit form, I have not reverted back. Okay. I'm just going to put a start transaction. We'll talk about this later. Just going to click on continue. Okay. Now I'm going to just click on sign out. So this is one flow that I recorded. Let the scripts get generated. Now you see here, only for the launch the URL got generated. After that, there's no URL. What is the disadvantage of this? What is the disadvantage of this? Now when I run this, it will work perfectly fine. See here, it will run perfectly fine. Right? It worked perfectly fine. It went in and ran all the things that is required, done. Now later, if I move, later what we're going to do, there are three different types of actions here. We're going to see that. If I move this out, I'm going to make launch and login only run once, action here, and then I'm going to take my sign out and put it later. Put it in my, so now this one what will happen is, I'm going to run my launch once. In my action, I'm going to do multiple iterations and then log out. If you see now, what will happen is it will fail. The script will fail because it is not able to map the, you see it's failing because it is not able to map, it is not able to map the request with the URL. Since the URL is not getting recorded. Fail. We always have to move to different actions. I'll talk about actions today. We will have a better understanding after we talk about actions. So now it will not work. So if you are recorded like this and you wanted this to work, then you go here, go to tools, recording options, or regenerate script. Go to click on these options. That is open the recording option. In HTML mode, select web form, the web submit data. Click OK and click OK. It will regenerate the script in web submit data for you. You see, now the URLs have been displayed here. So this is the safest way to do it. So always use the web submit data rather than the form. Okay. Now you see here, this is my launch, right? This is my login. So for login I use the start and end. Launch I did not use. Just to show you. You see here, if I have multiple requests without this, without my start transaction, how will I differentiate this script from this action? That's why I always put a start and end. So now I know this one starts. This is the end for my launch. You see here it put a 5-second think time. Start, continue. This is the thing. It put a 5-second think time and then logged off. Right. So now you see how many steps are here. So I have my launch, that's 1, login 2, continue 3, sign up 4. So we have 4 steps and 4 requests. If I convert this into a HTML mode, URL mode, like regenerate script, options, URL. URL also you have advanced. But use custom request only. No, leave this blank. Don't use this. Just leave it as it is. And say OK. OK. Now let's generate the same script using URL mode. You see here, just for the launch. This is for the launch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. But you see here, everything is a zip file. Everything is a zip file. That's all image files that it's loading. Do we really require all these image files? We don't require all these image files. We don't need. You see here, just for the launch. Here comes the launch. And what is the main request for the launch? Main request for the launch is embedded inside this. Now we don't know which one. Then login. You see here, login. This is the main request for login. But these are all zip files that got loaded when the login came. You don't need these zip files. Right? If you see, when I replay, when you saw the replay, these zip files will automatically be called when you use the post method. Why do you want to explicitly call this again? You are just increasing the load on the server. So if I run this, let's see what is the response time coming for login only. Let me stop. I'll put a breakpoint here. So breakpoint is function F9 is the breakpoint. I'm just going to run till this point and I'm going to see what is the response coming up. I have to run this also, right? Yeah. Okay, wait, let me finish this. Just to log into the system, what is the response time coming up? Login, see, start transaction here. Sorry, the start transaction here and the transaction for login ended at 7 seconds. You see here, 7.14 seconds it took for you to log into the application. Okay. Now let's regenerate it in HTML mode. And let's run this. Let's see what is the response coming up for the HTML mode for login. We are able to log in 0.16 seconds. So which one is the true one? Which one is the right one? Is it 7 seconds or it is 0.16 seconds? Which one is the right one? And you see here, all the JPEG and ZIP files are being called here also. So which is the right one? Let's go and see which is the right one. So I'm going to go to home, my official book timekeeper. Oh, she's not. Can you help me out? Do you have a stopwatch?
No, Rajesh. I logged into my iPad, so
okay.
I'm out of battery.
Do you have one?
No, Rajesh. I can use my phone, yeah.
Yeah, I can use a phone.
Okay. Can you help me out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
do it. Either or me.
You do it.
Can do it, yeah.
Okay. So now when I say start, you start the stopwatch. When I say stop, stop it.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Start. Stop. What is the time took?
2 seconds and 61 milliseconds.
Yeah. So since that 2 seconds, more time was on the rendering of this page.
Okay.
Here there is no website, right? Here there is no browser, so there is no rendering. So the moment it gets the response back, it will stop the script. Okay.
So this
That's why it got the response back in. Yeah, go. What
0.167. Okay, so yeah, sorry. My question was So this will be for every step, right?
Yeah, for every step. This is only for the login which we were just seeing. What was the response?
No. My question is not only for login. Like suppose for continue or sign off, the response time will be as short as possible, right? Since it doesn't have, it's not a browser. It's not rendering other stuff in it.
Yes. In performance testing, we are not worried about how fast your browser is rendering it. No, that rendering depends upon how much memory you have, how fast is your computer, correct?
The internet speed and everything.
Internet speed. So if imagine I have 100 Mbps internet speed, but I am running a gaming website, a gaming site in my application or a gaming program in my laptop where it's using all my memory, you will see that the page will load very slow.
Slow, yes.
It means that your application is slow? No.
No.
The request is come. It's your system that's taking time to render and show it to you.
So the time which this thing is calculating, it's not the system time, it's the actual time which the LoadRunner is taking, the virtual UGen is taking.
Yes, the actual time which UGen is taking for it to send the request, and the moment it got the response back, it has said that your page is displayed.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions, guys? Fine. So now, you saw the difference, right? So we always use, give me one second. We always use the HTML mode. That is the reason we use the HTML mode. Coming back to recording options, we finished this. Port mapping. If you have a socket level entry, you want to do this, no, I've hardly used it. We don't use this port mapping only. You wanted to put a new entry of your, the way the communication that has to happen is through a socket. You can define all this. We don't usually use this at all. Then HTTP properties, advanced. Here, right, there are certain things that you need to see. Reset context, save snapshot, these are all generic things. You see here, generate web reg find function for each page. Keep this unchecked. We don't want, this is similar to your checkpoint, right? To see whether a specific page has loaded or not. In QTP, we use checkpoints. We use text checkpoint, we use image checkpoints. Similar to that. But here, the recording option can automatically generate for you. I don't want to do that. I want to take a value that I know that conformly if that comes, the value, the page has loaded. I will do that manually. So keep this option unchecked. Okay. This option of record engine, rest all is leave it as it is. We are not going to use it. Record the script using earlier recording engine, it's a pain. Don't enable this. The earlier recording option is really a pain. Do not use this. Use the latest recording option, recording engine. Okay. Header, footer, and all leave it as it is. We hardly use. Don't use this at all. Correlation. This option, we'll talk about correlation. Correlation is a process of capturing dynamic value. After we finish the recording option script, that's the next what we are going to talk about. But leave this option enabled. Just leave it as it is. Don't touch anything. Leave this enabled as the default setting. So that's all what we're going to use in our recording option.